Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ice Time, where we dive into some of the big ideas around the NHL. I'm Mike Fink, and I'm joined by Russ Cohen, who's otherwise known as Sportsology, because his Twitter name, at least, is that. He covers the NHL and a whole bunch of sports, actually, but mostly NHL, and he does it for writing, podcasting, radio, just about everywhere you can find hockey medium. He is on it. Russ, how are you doing as the season is around the corner?
Good, Mike. I'm excited. Yeah, it's great time of the year. Just got back from the Fall Classic, so I got to see a lot of prospects. Now we're getting close to the NHL season, so I love it. Best time of the year.
Yeah, I almost wanted to ask you the question I asked last week to my guest, which is, are you in the best shape of your life, or have you put on 20 pounds? Because that's the question. Seems like
Ah,
every player around this time of year, that's what they're saying as they head into the season. But the season is around the corner. It really is exciting, and we're gonna discuss the awards. It's a good way to actually preview the season again without officially previewing it, but we're gonna talk about some of the awards that and what we're predicting or who we think can win these awards. And we'll we'll just dive right in. Let's start with the Calder Trophy. And what's interesting about this one, the conversation around it is it's Ivan Demidov or the field. And it seems that's the narrative around entering the season. And I'll start with that. Do you think it's Ivan Demidov or the field, or maybe there's you're thinking it's going to develop into maybe a tight race or something?
no, I think it'll develop into a race. I don't think it's just Demidov. I think because people got an advanced look at him that they're like, okay, this guy can really play. I was saying for probably more than a year that he's super talented. I think he's a little bit more talented than Matvey Michkov, and he came in and he certainly looked good. Montreal has upped their team. I think getting like Noah Dobson is going to just increase the offense, the power play, and all that. So he's going to get a lot of opportunities. But if Michael Misa were to make it into the NHL, he would be a contender. Uh, Z Booyam is a contender. Like he will be on the top power play. He'll be, maybe start the year on the second pair, end the year on the first pair. It depends how they want to use him. And he's a definite guy that could win it. Matthew Schaefer looks really good. I mean, I'm not going to take him out of the field either because, we got to peek at him in preseason. He already put up a point. He looks smooth. Will he get top power play? Maybe. I don't know if he'll get it right away, but that'll certainly factor into it too. So, I could come up with a three or a four-player race, and a lot of times it is. And then at the end, sometimes it comes down to like two players.
Yeah, does it rarely the Calder Trophy race rarely becomes like an unquestioned winner. Where so even the year Connor
True.
Bedard won it, Brock Faber had a good case to win it, and a lot of people actually said he should have won it, but he wasn't the name brand and the big player in the big market, but he had statistically
Well,
a
I mean,
great
I
season.
voted. I love Brock Faber. Yeah, I love Brock Faber, but you couldn't take away what Bedard did on a bad team. He had around 60 points and he missed time. His points per game was really high
Yeah, no, he had a
for a
great
rookie.
season. I think what's funny is last year was a four-team race, and we kind of had the same discussion around each player, but for different reasons. Whether some were in those markets, some were having great seasons, some were the
Yeah.
generational talent. It ends up becoming that. It's interesting. You mentioned
Yeah.
Michael Lisa. I had him on my list of people to monitor because, and it's really him and Shaper in the same conversation, which is if they make it onto the team from day one and are high impact players, then they can win the award. And Misa, particularly, I like his chances because if he's on this young team that's on the rise and he gets time with Celebrini, he'll get the points and he'll be up there in the conversation. One name he didn't mention is Ryan Leonard, who I I actually would if I make a pick, I'll pick him. He's gonna be on the team, I think, from day one. You saw him briefly
Mhm.
last season, and that's a situation where he can get a lot of first of all, a lot of ice time and a lot of good he'll put up the points. He'll be in the conversation, I think. So wondering what you think about him.
Well,
He's
one thing
not
about
that.
Leonard,
Yeah, I
go
was
ahead,
just saying,
sir.
well, what do you think about him? But also then while you're at it, maybe you give me your pick for Calder at the
Yeah.
end of the season.
So with Leonard, I've covered him a long time. I feel like last year when he came in at the end of the season, there were some struggles, but that's also a really talented team. So I don't know if he's going to get first power play. He probably isn't. And he's probably going to be on the third line because of the amount of talent they have. So if they ask him to kind of play the Marshawn Tom Wilson role, that could cut his points a little bit. And I think that's something where he's got to be careful. Like if that's what they want him to do, he'll do it. And if he does do that, it is going to cut into his offense a little. I right now I'm leaving. I think Ivan Demidov is going to be the guy simply because, like I said, they've added Dobson. They've got a great power play. They've got Suzuki and Caulfield, and if he's on the power play with those guys, there's going to be some magic.
Like he's the unquestioned favorite. And the part with Demidov is also that the way people are talking about him is not just that he's going to be a Calder winner this year or a Calder favorite this year, that he'll be in the conversation for the Hart Trophy soon enough. And
Hmm.
on a team that, I mean, you look at them and I mean, I mentioned Ryan Leonard and thinking, okay, he'll be in a situation where he will succeed. Demidov is going to be in a top six, where
Yeah.
whether he's on the same line as Nick Suzuki or Cole Caulfield, or whether he's on the second line, where I mean, maybe I mean whoever that would be. I mean, probably Patrick Line, but either way, he can either anchor a
Slavkovsky
line
might be with them.
or yeah,
Yeah.
Slavkovsky. I think they play the same position, or between Caulfield and Slavkovsky, there's a little bit of overlap
Right.
there, but you've got the defensemen who are going to help him out as well. He's got all the pieces around him, and he is that superstar. It makes a good case for him. I still lean I mean I lean the field just because you very rarely do
Okay.
you want to take the player or the field, especially in a Calder trophy question. But either way, I just still like Ryan Leonard there. I mean, the question is if he is good enough, which I think you saw flashes of it late last season. So the question is if he will be. Let's go to another one, which
He's
looks like a
he's good.
chalk.
He is good enough. He just may not get the opportunity
Yeah,
as
I
the
mean,
same opportunity as the other guys.
well, that's always an interesting question with people always talk about it with prospects and rookies. They're like, well, they can't take this player's spot because that player's too good. And they're well, it's like, well, the prospect is good enough, he will earn that. The prospect will take that spot. Kale McCarr was good enough that he could take on the power play when he stepped in
Sure.
from day one. So if you are good enough, which maybe I mean that's the same thing with Demidov, where Slavkovsky is a top line skater, but if Demidov is better, he will play on the top line. It does not matter. I mean, if you are good enough. So, I mean, maybe Leonard is. I don't. It's still too early, and that's the good thing with the Calder. It's still too early for any of these players.
Yeah,
You're just
yeah.
projecting, but that's how it is. Let's shift over to another one that looks like a chalk sort of award. Or at least at first glance, it does, just because of who's been winning it recently. Let's go with the Selke Trophy. Are you going chalk here with Barkov, who's won it 2 years in a row? Even like last season, he might. Some people said he have the best defensive season for a forward, but are you going chalk here? Do you feel like there's someone else? There are a bunch of players I think worthy of this, but it seems like it's his word to lose. Where do you stand on the Selke?
Yeah, I kind of think Barkov, it is kind of his award to lose. I do feel like the Selke does become a reputation award, but he has earned it, and he is that good. There are other players in the league that certainly rival him and certainly will have a chance to win that award, but he's the favorite going in. Like, I don't think there's anybody that you would say is the favorite over him.
Yeah, I think I when I'm looking at predictions, I'm just going chalk. I'm going Barkov. As much as and it is a reputation where it was before Barkov he's won it twice in a row now. He's won it 3 times in his career. It was Patrice Bergeron winning it every year. So it's
Right.
become this sort of reputation award. And people always joke, it's actually funny. People always joke about we should rename it the Bergeron Award or the Barkov Award. And of all the awards that are named after people, the Selke's the one that you shouldn't rename because Frank Selke was actually one of the best presidents slash leaders in hockey. The reason why the NHL is the NHL, but I digress on that. I'll just throw out
Yeah.
some names to just keep in mind for the
Hmm.
Selke. Just people that they'll probably have good seasons at least. Jack Eichel and Marner are both 10 Selke candidates, and they're both in the same potential in the same line. So that's going to be interesting to monitor. There's Sam
That'll be
Reinhart, who's
hard. That
been
that might split their vote. Yeah.
yeah, that's also what's interesting is Sam Reinhart also in Florida was a finalist last year. So there's always he's another one to monitor.
Yep.
there's a few there that I think okay, you can just keep an eye out for them. And I mean, there's a few centers also my mind's blanking on that. Jordan Stahl's been in the conversation in the past. I don't think he'll
Stahl's a
be in.
little bit past it though, but I
Yeah, it's a
think
little
in the
past it.
he's a little past that, I think, at this
Yeah.
point.
I mean, that's the same thing with Anze Kopitar back in the day, who was in his last season.
Kopitar, I still in a last year, if he has a great year, would voters feel like, hey, let's give it to him on the way out? He's had just as good a year. Like I feel like he could be a sentimental favorite.
Yeah, he's the sentimental one, and that's the one I'm just kind of throwing out there. And I'm like, now that I think about it, maybe keep that in mind, just to monitor there potentially, because he's been a good defensive forward, and I don't think he's ever won the Selkie, or maybe he did back in the day, but I don't think
I believe he's
been
been
in the
in the
conversation.
conversation, but I don't think he's won it.
Because I think Bergeron's been the winner all the time, and he's been close. So maybe to monitor if he, especially, I mean, he really has to have a big season though, and that's going to be the question. He's older now; he's not the same type of player, but will be interesting. Another
He'll leave it
one,
all out there.
yeah, and another award. I'm kind of getting the ones that feel like there's a favorite, and then maybe a few others
Actually,
to
he's
keep in
won the
mind.
Selkie twice. That was in the back of my mind. Um, he's won it twice.
Okay, so it was like 2014, 15 range, I think.
15, 16, 17, 18.
Yeah, that was a while ago. I mean,
That
now
was,
now it
but it
really,
was gnawing at me. I was like, wait, yeah,
yeah. I was thinking like, has he won it? Has he not? Uh, I was thinking, yeah, maybe just one more of that third one, and then just send him into the Hall of Fame on a high note, which should
could
happen at the
happen.
end of the season. I'm getting all the clear cut favorite ones, or the chalk ones. It feels like out of the way first before we really kind of have to pick each other's brains on this. Another award where there's a clear cut favorite, and then there's some other names to monitor. The Vezina Trophy. Hellebuck's won it 2 times in a row. He won the Hart Trophy last year. He was, I think, the unanimous Vezina Trophy winner last season. He's the clear cut favorite. There are some other goaltenders though to keep in mind. Where do you lean on this?
On this one now, I'm gonna not go chalk, and I feel like Dustin Wolf might be there to take it. Uh, he had an amazing year last year. He was the Calder. I mean, not the Calder. He was the best goalie in the AHL the year before. I feel like he's kind of working up to this. We also know that he's not on the best team. Like Winnipeg is a great team compared to Calgary. Calgary is a good team, but they're really good because of Wolf. I feel like he gets a fair amount of credit, which is deservedly so. So I look at it and I'm like, if Wolf puts in that just a little better year, which is very possible he will, he'll be in it.
There's the narrative for him, and that's the interesting part. Is because if the Flames make the playoffs, and I'm so intrigued, I really want to. I've been high on the Flames throughout every preseason show or article I've done, every preseason thing I've done. I'm like, the Flames are that sleeper team, and I think they can really catch people by surprise. And I want to pick Wolf. The problem is, are we leaning too high on him? I feel like there's a part of me that's like, I don't want to go all in and say he's going to win it. That's problem one. Problem two is the Vesna, as you know, is one of the few awards not voted on
Hmm.
by the writers. It's voted on by the GMs. And the GMs, what do they care about most? They care about the wins. It's all about the wins. The goaltender wins. And what's interesting, or not all about, but a lot, that's the big stat that they like. And if the Flames are a wild card team, or they just get into the playoffs, I think this happened to Sorokin a few years ago, they were where Sorokin willed the Islanders into the playoffs as a wild card, but Linus Allmark was on the best team and best goaltender on the best team, even though he split starts with Swayman. And even if he didn't have he didn't have the volume, the workload that Sorokin had, he still won the award. And it's interesting. That's the thing with Wolf. I'm wondering maybe that could also be held against him, where he's not, where unless yeah, the Flames are really good, which there's a chance they are, that maybe he just doesn't, maybe he's in the finals conversation, and and he doesn't win it. I mean, the other issue with Wolf, I'll just quickly throw out there, is that it's only been one season. So maybe there is a regression, a second year sophomore slump or regression there, especially since now he's gonna probably be the primary starter, take on most of those starts. It's just a few things that to keep in mind. I'll throw a few names
Well, hold on.
out.
The only thing I would
Yeah.
say is I don't see the regression as much in goalies. It happens more with position forwards and
Mhm.
defensemen more. I don't see it as much in goalies. I feel like he has worked his way up to it. He had 29 wins last year. He could get five, six more wins. And if he does that, I think he's right in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of the inconsistent. I've seen fluctuations with goaltenders. I think it's also the issue is when a goaltender split starts one season and then they're asked to be the primary starter, and then you see their numbers decline because of that. And I think that might happen with the Flames this year because he split starts. I mean, for most of the last season, he actually split starts with Dan Vladar, if you could believe that or not. But he did, and now he's going to be the primary starter there. There's just a few names to throw out there. Shesterkin, obviously. If the Rangers bounce back and Shesterkin is great, he'll be in that conversation. Uh, the one another name out in the Eastern Conference, Anthony Stolarz, who looked very good last season until he got hurt, and then when he got hurt in the playoffs, he wasn't there, so he wasn't good again. But Stolarz is a name maybe to keep in mind where the Maple Leafs are the best team in the Atlantic, which is possible there, maybe to keep him in mind. And just one I'll throw out for now is and this is actually my pick. My pick is Jake Ottinger, just because I think this is one of those like you have to. It's a prove it year for him, even though he doesn't need to prove much. But it's a prove it year in the sense like the way last season ended, the way he was benched by Pete DeBoer in Game 5, an elimination game, and that chip on his shoulder to have a big season. And the Stars are going to be a good team. Are they going to be the best team? Maybe not, but they're going to be good. He's going to get up. He's going to get the wins, and he's going to play. And I think he's going to play well. And the other part to this is if he wants to win the starting job in the U.S. net, which having a great season, having a better season than Hellebuck can do that. I'm just throwing all these names at you, but what do you think? I'm
Yeah, I
picking
mean they're all
Ottinger for
going to
this,
want to
but
win jobs.
what?
Wolf's just trying to Wolf is going to try and get on the U.S. team too. Like Guerin's
Yeah,
left it open, so you never know. I mean, they're all going to be trying hard. Let's not forget Andrei Vasilevsky because if he has a bounce back year, he's always in the conversation. Last year, yeah, he was a little off, but Tampa does seem to at least be a little better this year, so I think there's a chance for that too. So I don't want to leave him out.
no, yeah, Vasilevsky is actually interesting because I think last year was his best. He actually did look better last year. It was the 2 years ago that he had the
Two
surgery.
years ago, he really dropped off. Last year
Yeah,
was a
and he
little
dropped
better,
off.
but he
Yeah,
dropped off towards the end, I
yeah,
felt.
people were wondering if age is catching up to him and all that stuff. But he looked good last season. Maybe he could look great again. He hasn't looked great in a while, so maybe this is the season where he can do that. And yeah, it's interesting. They're all trying to win starting jobs. All their Olympic teams. I wonder who's going to take Jordan Bennington's job, and if not, maybe he'll win.
Nobody.
He'll
Nobody.
win the. Kind of interesting with Canada how they don't have that Roberto Luongo walking through that door anymore, or even Marty
Bennington's
Brodeur.
been
But
good enough to win. He won the Four Nations, so
yeah, I mean it's good
he's won a
enough. So and
Stanley Cup.
they have a
Yeah.
good enough roster around him. Really previewing the Olympics, even though I don't really plan to do that at any point. Let's shift to a award that was a race last year and is an intriguing one because it feels like it's wide open. The Norris Trophy, which last season developed into a three-horse race. You had the big three: Zach Werenski, Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, and they all had great cases to win it. In the end, Cale Makar kind of pulled ahead and won it, and he deserved it. I wonder because I feel like him repeating is he's the favorite again, and for him
Hmm.
to repeat, I feel like he's entered this McDavid territory where he can have the best statistical season, but because we hold him to a high standard, we're like, you need to have a historic season. You need to break the goal score, the goal record, or you need to hit 100 points, or you need to do something beyond just regular great play from him. And then you have Quinn Hughes is who's right behind him in terms of favorite. Then he's right behind him uh, and then Werenski burst on the scene last season. Then you've got a good young crop of defensemen on the way, whether it's like Jake Sanderson or Lane Hudson. You have all these names to kind of monitor. But I mean, this one's the wide open one. So I kind of wonder where do you go here? What do you think? What do you think about how this is going to shape up?
Yeah, I mean, I think Adam Fox will bounce back. I don't think I mean, he still had something like 60 assists. It's not like he had an off year, but it was off for him. So I think he'll be in the conversation again. I think that Cale Makar does get held to a standard. I mean, I have covered him his whole career. I do think he and Hughes are generational. So every year they're going to be fantastic. And it's like, maybe you're splitting hairs, but I do feel like Werenski is the guy that's going to do it this year. And I feel that because I feel like Columbus is getting a little better. I think Werenski is finally reaching the height of his powers, staying healthy. He can score goals. Werenski's fully capable of scoring 30 goals. And so, like, if he were to do something like that, he would put a lot of pressure on the other guys, voters like me, and I think he have a real good chance.
It's so funny you mention Wierenski because that's literally my. I have the same thought process, which is especially if this is an it, you can draw up if you're painting a narrative, painting a picture for how the season's gonna go, or you're drawing up a narrative for how it's gonna go. The Blue Jackets are a very good team this season. They were close to the playoffs last season, so maybe they're the 3 seed or they finished top three in the Metro, which they can. And Werenski is the anchor of that defense and playing all situations, which he did last season. And I mean, the real question is if last season was an outlier where, okay, he would just burst on the scene, or no, he's here to stay. And I think the latter seems more accurate. I think he's here to stay. And yeah, I think yeah, it's crazy because even with this award where it feels wide open, we mentioned like Brock Faber earlier, maybe he gets into the conversation, or you have some of these other defensemen who are very good. There's a good crop of defensemen who you probably could see at the end of
There's
the
five or
season. There's
six that have a legit chance,
yeah,
and you never want to count out Drew Doughty because if he ever does stay healthy, he's always a tremendous guy, and he could have a career year again too before he hangs it up.
no, yeah. There's a lot of names. There's a lot of names to monitor, and I still just feel like Werenski has
Victor
ever.
Hedman's another one.
Oh yeah, Victor Hedman's another. Yeah, there's some that it's like turned back the clock a bit, or where even if Eric Carlson, which is crazy, because
Yeah,
he had
but I
100
mean,
points. He had 100 points a few
yep.
seasons back, and won it. So maybe if the Penguins make the playoffs and he's really good enough and he's actually leading them to the playoffs, or at least being the anchor on defense to get them there, there's a good case for him too. It's really wide open. I still lean Werenski. I think Quinn Hughes actually is the other name. I'm like, if I have to pick one, it would be him, just because everything was a mess last season in Vancouver, and assuming things regress to the mean, or really like progress to the mean, because like get better, I don't know, but either way, things get better there, and he's the anchor of their defense, which he will be. That the Canucks will be good, he'll be good, and he'll have another big season. And he has a lot to prove for himself as well, where it's where I guess he wants to kind of shake off all the drama or all the noise going on around Vancouver to have a big
I would say
season.
the formula for him is if Elias Pettersson gets his scoring touch back, hit points will come Quinn Hughes' way that he didn't get last year.
Yeah, it's really yeah the forward, because the defense. It's funny, the defense in Vancouver is all set, which not just him, but like Hronik, Marcus Pedersen, they have their defense set, and then it's like, all right, if he can get scoring from his forwards, like Brock Besser has a big season, like all those
Right.
players, then it's like yeah, he'll be fine there. It's funny because the way the Norris Trophy always shapes up is that it or shakes out. It's that it's the most it's a basically becomes the best scoring defenseman, or defenseman with the most offensive production. Not necessarily the most complete defenseman, even though I think Cale Makar last season was that. He also was very good defensively. But every year it's the same kind of conversation of we need to have an award for the best defensive defenseman. So I actually am just going to say let's make up an award. It's not going to be predicting as much as we're going to try to guess who I called the Jacob Slavin Award. So maybe Jacob Slavin's the guy to name it, who should win it. Uh, but it's which defensive defenseman would you say if there was an award created for this, they would win at the end of the season? This kind of just gets your brain thinking about, okay, who are the best stay-at-home defensemen, or who are some of the best in the league? This just gives us an excuse to talk about the defensemen that are overlooked in the NHL. So if you have a few names to just throw out there for an award that I always make up every year, but here it is. Who would you put on this list?
You said Slavin, that's a good one. I think Aaron Ekblad is a good one. I think there was somebody who I was just thinking about. Oh, Brandon Carlo is another one. If they were to have a bounce back year, I
Carlos
think
on the
those are a
Maple Leafs.
few that,
It's kind of
yeah,
interesting because
yeah. But
the player on the
if
Maple Leafs I think of is Chris Tanev for that award.
for that, I think Carlo's better defensively than Tanev, and I think that he was a little off. So that's what I mean by a bounce back, because he could be terrific defensively. He's not going to have any kind of offensive numbers, but I like Carlo.
It's interesting because I think maybe that's yeah, he's one of those undervalued or underrated defensemen. He had a rough season in Boston, then got traded and didn't really settle in.
No, he
Uh,
didn't.
so maybe this season he will. And it's also, I think he's a free agent at the end of the season. So if there's any season to figure it out, this is the one to do it. It's interesting because yeah, him and Chris Tanev, I think, play different styles defensively. Tanev kind of eats up pucks and like it's a very like different style where the way he plays. But yeah, I'll just throw out some other names. Dylan DeMello in Winnipeg, which Winnipeg gets overlooked in general, but wonder
DeMelo's
why the
good though.
Jets. You wonder why the Jets defense is so good. It's they have a lot of those type of players, but DeMello's the one that quietly puts together great defensive seasons. Throughout, I mean, you mentioned Brock Faber earlier. I think Brock Faber's best attributes are his play defensively, and I think what's interesting is that everyone noticed at the Four Nations how great Jacob Slavin is defensively. I think that was the one of the big takeaways from the event was how good he is defensively and how effortless he makes defensive play. How effortless he makes like breaking up Nathan McKinnon passes or stuff like that. Look, which he did. But it's interesting because he had a great showing defensively. Brock Faber did as well. Werenski did. These players all just stepping up defensively. I'll throw out the name that I think would win this award if we had it is Gustav Forsling in Florida because
Yeah, yeah.
he's
If he has another
actually
year
like
like that, yeah.
he's like the next generation Jacob Slavin, which is like you wonder why Florida's this good and is great in the playoffs or why they shut down teams. He's the one who clogs the middle or he breaks up those passing lanes. He's the player that everyone overlooks because Florida has a ton of stars, but he's the one that I think he's that real defensive defenseman. It's really exciting to watch him play a lot of times
They have a
because of
couple.
that.
Like I said, I really like what Ekblad does too. That is Vladislav Gavrikov is the other one too. If the Rangers bounce back, it'll be because of him and him settling Fox down, and he'll get a lot of credit for it.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the big thing with the Rangers is finding someone. You need to have that number two difference. You have Fox. He's your number one. He's going to be the one in all situations. But you need that stay at home option, and they don't really
Right.
have that. Um, let's let's uh let's talk. This was interesting because the next award is I find it tricky because you can't really give it to the best. It's the Jack Adams Award, which you can't give it to the best coach in the NHL because if you did, you'd have the same coaches winning it every year. It's always the way this award, really in all sports, the way the best coach or manager gets awarded. It's we didn't think your team was going to be good. It is, and you surprised us. So congrats, you win the award. And it's kind of interesting because there are a few names that people are already leaning towards. Joel Quenneville being one because it's like okay, the Ducks aren't expected to be that good. They're on the rise, so if they make the playoffs and they're really good, then he'll win it. I mean, last season Spencer Carberry, no one thought the Capitals were going to be good. They were the best team in the Eastern Conference. They won it. So with that in mind, it's just kind of where do you lean? Where do you see this where how do you see it shaking out?
Yeah, I think there is going to be a benefit for Quenville because he is on a team that is ripe for a turnaround because they have a lot of great young players. Everybody feels like by next year they're probably a playoff team if they show they're close to that or are a playoff team this year. He's going to be in serious consideration. I think Martin St. Louis could win that. I feel like if Montreal gets good goaltending with everything else we've talked about that they have, they're right in the game. You know, I don't think the Rangers are a big time playoff team, but if Mike Sullivan makes him that, he already has a great reputation. I think those are some big names right there.
Sullivan's another one that I think a lot of people are high on. Another one that people are high on is Andre Turigny
Hmm.
in Utah,
Hmm.
which is funny because I think with him, it's either he's making the playoffs and he's winning that award, or he's be fired by midseason potentially, or at the end of the season, just because the bar is to get into the playoffs. There, Marty St. Louis would be my pick. It's funny, like him and Travis Green. I think you could put them in the same category where they were borderline playoff teams last season. If they're at the top of the Eastern Conference, which I think between those two, one of them will be, and one of them can be, and I would pick Montreal to be that team. They're going to win the award because it's just how far you jump, and it's a similar to the Spencer Carberry leap, where you go from borderline playoff team to top of the conference. And I think, yeah, I think those are the names to monitor with that in mind. And I feel like that's why, I mean, that's why I would pick St. Louis, actually, just because I mean, everyone's really high on Montreal. I feel like by picking him, now they're not going to be that good, but it's hard to ignore like
Yeah,
him as the
Montreal wants to
favorite to
get to
win.
that next step in the playoffs. That's where they want to be. They've made it. They want to get to that next step.
They want to be the team they could win the Atlantic Division just because I mean the Panthers don't care to win the division. We know that it's well documented.
No, they
Where
don't care about winning the division. That's
yeah,
true.
and the Maple Leafs are probably feeling the same way. They won it last year, but as long as they're the 2 or 3 seed, and I think the Panthers same way. As long as they're the 2 or 3 seed, then we can go on a run. With that in mind, it's kind of you leave that one spot up for grabs. Montreal could sneak in, surprise everyone, and take it, or Ottawa's the same way. And with Montreal, the question is,
Ottawa's going to be good this year.
yeah, and the question is for both of them, can you compete? And I think the underlying question also is just what maybe Montreal does to prove that they can compete or to get over the hump. And everyone's going to be monitoring potential trade because they have the assets to make it, and there's a
Hmm.
player potentially who can move the needle who plays in Pittsburgh. So we can, which everyone's of course
We'll see.
speculating about that. We'll see. All right,
I
we'll
don't
take a
think he'd
quick
go to
break.
Montreal. I think he'd rather go to Colorado. Sorry.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.